Okay, we're live. This is MC1 Gamer bringing you another Unlocking Age of Sigmar. And once again, we have Vince Ventrello as our special guest. Welcome again, Vince.
Hi again. How are you?
I'm good, good. I hope you're doing well tonight.
Fantastic.
Vince, you've been on a number of times. I extremely value your opinion on a lot of these war scrolls. And tonight was a kind of a request from you. Which one of the Demons of Chaos would you like to do? Because I wanted to break this up so we didn't have another 2 to 3 hour session, which I'm sure some of the painters out there would appreciate, but not everybody who has less than unlimited time probably doesn't appreciate these extended, never-ending unlocking videos. And you had decided that the original man with one boob, decided that you wanted to do a Slaanesh as well as Khorne. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight.
That is correct. That is correct. Absolutely. And I'm very excited about it. In fact, I had meant to. There we go. So let's go ahead and get that changed. Now, there we go. Now we got it right. Okay. Much better.
So so we're going to go in. We're going to break up the Demons of Chaos. So anybody who's tuning in tonight know that this is going to be the first of what will probably be 3 videos for unlocking this particular set of War Scrolls. The format is typically we'll go through each of the War Scrolls and we'll stick to the generic ones for this initial video. A future one will be the Tzeentch and Nurgle, and then we'll circle back and we'll take a look at the special characters. So and we're going to talk about all the different powers and abilities and how these might be more effective on the battlefield, and really the synergies between the War Scrolls, how they might effectively work together. So why don't we go ahead and dive into the War Scrolls. I'm going to go ahead and share my my screen here, Vince. And it looks like I'm actually learning how to do that properly.
There you go.
All right. So before I actually start, I don't want to neglect to mention that Vince is one of the hosts of Warhammer Weekly, which is out every week on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you're not already a subscriber to Warhammer Weekly and to Vince Ventrello, you should be. I will put a link down in the descriptions so you can check that out afterwards. So first, let's just talk about Khorne. All right, there's a bunch of bloodthirsters, and these are gorgeous models, by the way. You don't have
Khorne. It's delicious. It's good popped with butter. Oh, that's just, wait. Sorry, I was thinking of maize. Okay, the Khorne, the god of blood. Yes, right.
There's a bunch of bloodthirsters. These are, by the way, the new models. How expensive are the new models? Because they're gigantic.
They're the most expensive single model. So retail, I think they're like 110 or something.
Really? So more than the Nagash?
Yeah, they were like $2 more than Nagash or something. $3 more. Whatever that boiled down to.
But they're huge. They're gigantic, and I got to say, as big as they are, I've seen them on the battlefield a couple times. I can't believe that much model is held up by that little connection to the base.
Well, plastic doesn't weigh a lot. I mean, you can you're one pin away from that pretty easily.
Still, it's a testament to just some really nice design work. There's several different types of bloodthirsters. Yes. Maybe we can try to kind of sum up the differences in them before we actually go through the specific rules. They're really meant for different purposes. You have more of a support role, and more of just a one that is feral, runs in there and just absolutely demolishes with all kinds of attacks. Do you have any kind of summation that you would put? Because I think we have 3 of them, right?
Yeah, absolutely, you do. They're all meant to be leadery type of dudes in charge of your Khornate forces, as it were, or your Khorny forces.
Cornish.
There you go, the Cornish game hen. And yeah, they really are very, very different things, honestly. So I mean, when you take so let's just start with this first guy, and there's a couple things I want to point out with this guy. So he's a big monster, like many of these things, right? And these guys are all titans of wounds. And like most of the demons, a thing you're going to see throughout the demon army is that bravery 10, which means that, you know, they're, oh boy, it's hard to lose models to bravery. I'll say that in this army, just because your people are fairly resilient, and you know you've got to lose a fair bucket load to start taking bravery checks.
It kind of works. I don't really see demons running away very often.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So when you look at this one, you know, so when we get down to the Bloodthirsters, like, yeah, they all fly, of course, because of course that kit comes with those giant, beautiful wings, which that's probably the second most beautiful wing kit that Games Workshop has ever made.
Okay, I need to ask then, what's the first?
Terrorgeist.
Okay, there you go. I agree.
No question. Those wings are amazing.
And I think the tips are a little bit too spindly, but you know, yes, they are very dramatic and very cool.
Yes. What I like about them is deep ridges, big arcs. Anyways, This isn't about that thing, but yeah, beautiful. All right. So, but when you look at this guy, so this is the Insensate Rage. This is your charge forward into the enemy lunatic. And there's so many things to note here. So one, this is Rage Unbound, whatever, he rerolls, hit rolls a 1. Who cares? But the key with that is this guy hits on a 4, which is actually pretty high for, you know, a super model. Most big super models hit on 3s. But he wounds on a 2, and he's swinging around a cannonball, right? I mean, this guy's hitting like a cannonball. You think about an Empire cannon, it's 4 to hit, 2 to wound, -2 Ren, D6 damage, right? He literally attacks swinging Empire cannonballs, okay? The key is that he's only got 4 attacks when he's at his most effective. Once he goes to halfway wounded, that drops to 3. That's a low number of attacks for a model of this magnitude, right? But when everyone is a cannonball, he can really wreck a unit. And the key happens with that outrageous carnage thing that you see there on that other table. And so what that is that anytime the wound roll with your Great Axe is a 6 or more, every enemy unit within 8 inches of the Bloodthirster suffers mortal wounds based on that chart. So he's undamaged. And you come in there, you drop 2 6s in your wound rolls, right? Just a miracle case. That's 6 mortal wounds to every enemy unit within 8 inches. As he just blows things off the table.
And some of the mechanics in the Khorne group tends to substitute mortal wounds if you get this type of you know, you get roll a 6. In this case, it's compounded. It says regular attacks, and then you get the addition of the mortal wounds. So what do you envision? You envision him doing some kind of whirling dervish thing, some Tasmanian devil spin?
Well, I mean, you know, it just says by a bow wave of incredible force. You know, whatever. I guess it's just whatever you like. I just picture big fiery explosions coming off of his axe because that seems reasonable.
That's pretty cool. I like that special effect a lot. And that stuff matters. I mean, I know that's not a game mechanic, but the coolness of that is the kind of thing that can inspire somebody to do something really cool when it comes to converting a model or painting it up.
Yep.
So that's absolutely awesome. Yeah, this is pretty scary when you consider the fact that, you know, this guy can fly. He can fly far. And he can find his way pretty close near a lot of units. 8 inches is you know, that's 16 across. You know, yes, I can add. But you know, there's going to be a lot of enemies within that range, and all you need to roll is that 1/6. Yeah, that's pretty scary.
Yeah, I also really actually like his command ability, which is that you know, basically if you use it the next time you charge, all your Khorne demons get to re-roll their charge. And I really think being able to land your charges when you want is very important. Like it's quite important to successfully playing this game, because like if you get one unit in with one of their units, right? Then you know, whatever, that's fine. You go first, they go, whatever. But if you can get something like 3 units in with their 1 unit, right? Even if those are all smaller, just the nature of activations means that you win out in a big way as far as, you know, them being able to reduce your effectiveness. So things like landing the charges you need are really important. Anything that lets you re-roll or expand the dice you use for charges, I'm a big fan of. I think it's quite powerful.
Yeah, it's very effective in the games that I've played where there's been a reroll mechanic. Especially if you combine it with any kind of reasonable charge distance. I mean you get kind of bonuses like +1 to a charge or something like that. Yeah, it's a big deal. And this is not just this is every is this all units or one unit? It's any unit within 8 inches. So yeah,
Yeah.
you can cluster some units around him and gain some substantial carnage when you with outnumbering your opponent. This also, he imbues all the wizards deployed with the ability to summon more of them. I got to tell you that summoning cast of 10, even with the potential for a +1 from terrain or from other factors, that's a pretty high number. I played a game just this past Monday where I had 4 casters on the table. Some of them were mounted on monsters so that they were able to summon those monsters. So, for instance, a vampire lord on a zombie dragon, a ghoul king on a terrorgeist, and I tried every time to cast the summoning. That 10 is not as easy as it might seem. And even an 8, with a couple of modifiers, you're not going to get that casting off a lot. When you consider the fact that you have a very easy casting cost for the really underrated Mystic Shield, or even just trying to do an arcane bolt or any of the other special spells, a lot of people over dramatize how much the summoning is broken and whatnot. But you really have to factor in the fact that 10 before it even gets modified, it's going to be hard to hit.
It's super hard to hit. Yeah.
All right, so let's take a look at his brother in arms. This is not the shooty one, is it? No.
Well, I mean, he's got a missile weapon, so I guess it depends on what you define as the shooty one.
Okay, I think the shooty one was the third one.
Yeah, I mean, the other one has more missile attacks, right? This guy's got his lash or whatever. If you want to take this one, go right ahead.
Sure. So I guess the major difference is that he's got this the land rebels. The ground around the bloodthirster of unfettered fury becomes cracked and broken beneath its stomping hooves. So the way it works is at the beginning of your hero phase, you roll a die for each enemy within 8 inches. On a 6, they suffer a mortal move. That's not as dramatic as the previous one, but here's a big one. It halves the move of that unit until your next hero phase. Now, why is this important? Well, it might not be so important when you consider that you're already really, you're in close combat range, and you think that you're already going to be stuck into combat. Why would somebody leave? But retreat is a very, very important component of Age of Sigmar. And if you have retreat, you have to get at least 3 inches away from all enemy units when you do so. So the movement value is huge. And even if you have a very fast-moving unit, typically a fast-moving unit is anywhere from 10 to 12. I mean, it's very rare to get a 14, but you get a 10 to 12. Now all of a sudden you're like a 4 or 5, or 6. You may not be able to get far enough away to retreat. This guy not only can't cause mortal wounds, but he can eliminate the ability for you to get away if you want to. So he also has a nice command ability. So the way it works is that if you use it until until your next hero phase, all Khorne, I'm tempted to say Cornish units, all Khorne units within 8 inches can pile in 6 inches instead of 3. Now this is a little bit open to interpretation. This is how I interpret this rule, because I've had a few people speak about this in recent videos with the extended pile-in. So I'd like to hear what your thought is on this, Vince. The pile-in rule still states that you need to be within 3 inches at the beginning of a combat phase in order for you to basically be able to activate. If you activate, then you can move 3 inches. But what I think that this rule does is it gives you that 6-inch move so you can get further towards your enemy, maybe even slide in behind your enemy where more models can then fit. So that's how I envision it. Let's say you have a model that's a unit that has several models as opposed to a singular model. Now you can get more guys in there and start surrounding that unit.
I mean, yeah, nothing about this would let you pile in if you're 6 inches away, hence not in combat, right? I mean, combat is still what it is. It's still triggered off of being 3 inches away or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I don't interpret that as being any different. I think it's just like, yes, your whole unit gets in, right? If you think about like having a big 20-pack of blood reavers or something, right?
Right.
Well, I guess it's Khorne demons, so bloodletters. There you go. But some other unit with blood in the name. Either you got at least like 20 blood letters. You're gonna if you can pile in 6 inches, the reality is you can get a lot more in combat. I mean, the trickier part with that is when it really honestly comes down to the controversy over how exactly where does your pile in allow you to be carried to, that kind of thing.
Yeah, we can debate that for another video.
Yes, I agree.
I think there's a couple of different schools of thought. Both have some weight. I have my own opinion, but just for expedience sake, we can revisit this. I'm sure we have a couple of videos in our pockets waiting to be put up just to talk about some of these rules.
Sure, I will say if you're using the looser interpretation of pile in, this ability is significantly more powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Either way, it's still a phenomenal ability, and when you consider that you have large units, 10 or more, which will come into play as we see some of the more the other Khorne units, getting more models on target, that either interpretation is going to achieve that goal. So this is the one that I think is a lot more shooty, and this is one of the ones I went up against just maybe about 2 weeks ago. Just to before I'll let you take this one, but I just want to give you a little synopsis of what my history was. I had a giant go toe to toe with the Wrath of Khorne Bloodthirster, and they went to town against each other. Obviously, the Bloodthirster was doing. The Bloodthirster was doing a better job. He had softened up the giant a little bit with his shooty ability, and I had a Thunder Tusk, drop him a little bit. I'll just get to the punchline. The Bloodthirster dropped the giant, but then the giant fell on the Bloodthirster and killed the Bloodthirster.
So I love it.
It was very pleasing.
Sure.
So tell us about the Wrath of Khorne Bloodthirster.
This dude's a beast. That's what you need to know. He's got the same flight and stats sort of as everybody else. Got this Hellfire Breath. It's just a shooting attack that works. I like that. You just pick a unit, D3 mortal wounds, suck on that. I like being able to just pick things and do wounds. That's fantastic. He's got his flail again, just a bonkers hard-hitting single attack. Like, yeah, you can miss and not wound, but when this guy is undamaged, this thing starts out at 6 damage. 6. Yeah. 6 damage.
Not die 6.
6, and it wounds. Yeah, it's 3 up, neg 1 rend, 6 damage. Oh, that's a monster killer, which is what this guy basically is. He's the one seeking out like other heroes and monsters and killing them. He's got the Rune Crown, which lets him dispel. Love it. He gets to add 2 to his unbinding rolls. So like actually he's better at unbinding than most wizards. Because most wizards aren't adding anything when they try to unbind. And probably his weakest thing is his command ability. Like whatever. They can run and charge in the same turn. You pick one unit, they can run and charge in the same turn, and they add 1 to their run and charge rolls.
It's not minor.
Woo!
It's not minor. I mean, look, you consider that a unit that's way out of charge range typically would be able to do a run and get within charge range. I think that's pretty good. Would I take it over other command abilities? Perhaps not. But if this guy was your general,
Sure. I mean, I guess like they have to be within 16 inches of him. It's 1 unit. Woo! Like my overall rating, meh, on the command ability. I don't care. This dude's a beast. Like he is about him, right? That's the key with he's not bonusing everybody else because he's about bringing the heat himself. In a round, this guy can just do an outrageous amount of damage.
All the Bloodthirsters are obscene, but this one is my favorite because I think he has more dimension. I like the fact that he can unbind. I like the fact that he can shoot. He is no slouch in close combat. He's got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, this guy can deal up like his everything on blast. He can do 27 wounds in a single turn. Yeah. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, the Skull Taker. Yep. Now, this is
our old fave.
This guy is I don't know. He's okay. I mean, look, he has his nice Cloak of Skulls, the famed Cloak of Skulls, reroll failed saves on a 4 up. He's got some of the standard, hero stats. His decapitating strike, if you roll a 6 or more, you inflict 3 mortal wounds. So it's a replacement. And you can re-roll fail to hit and wound rolls when he targets a hero. Okay, he's nice. I mean, is he? I don't know if I don't know if I would take him over maybe some of the other, like, a herald or something like that. He's got some nice mechanics, but he's not a beast. He's got some decent stuff that'll make him effective. But he just doesn't, it doesn't say a lot about how overwhelming Khorne is in hand combat to me.
I like this dude a lot. His biggest weakness is he only has 3 attacks. Like, that is the only part of his stats I don't like. That being said, I think this dude is an out-and-out solid 5 wounds. I would take him over a regular herald every time. I'll tell you why. So he's basically a 5 wound general. He's just special, right? Or a herald, whatever. He's just special. So first, 3 damage, such a high damage. Like, that's crazy. And when he gets that 6 or more to wound, they all become mortal wounds, right? But the key is he's got that reroll, okay, when he's fighting heroes, which means that you statistically have a much higher chance of getting a 6, because every 1 or 2 that you roll gets a second bite at the apple to become a 6. So it kind of goes back to, like, Once Bitten used to do this, and Six Fish on his wound rerolls, because he would use, like, the Starwood Lance or something like that, whatever, and know that he would use the rerolls to wound to Six Fish, okay. And he was aiming for heroic killing blows there, but you're gonna end up in much the same place. The other thing I love, that Cloak of Skulls, reroll failed armor saves. All right. That is always the best thing to see defensive wise, because unless Rend shears off your armor, which can happen with a 4-up, but this guy's in cover or gets like anything that adds 1 to his armor, 3-up rerollable. In the world of AoS, that is rock solid.
I'll tell you what lowers the stock for me. He's a singular character that doesn't have any synergy. He is all about himself, and he's certainly capable and viable. But I just I look at some of the other abilities, and we'll get to the Herald in a minute, where he can other characters that can enhance or give an extra ability to some of the other units. And when I look at him being the singular character, a singular hero, he just doesn't have the beef to stand in against some of the crazy volume of attacks that you'll get. Now, the thing that does it for me is that he's a 5 wound character with a 4-up save. All those extra rerolls make him stick in much longer. But I just don't know how long he's going to stay against a unit with with a volume of attacks. Those 5 wounds are going to go fast, even with the rerolls.
I don't know. I think you underestimate the power of rerolls, my friend.
I know exactly how rerolls work. I use it to my advantage all the time. But you know what? I'll have to see him on the table. Just my first read. Hey, look, we can disagree.
Sure, absolutely.
I don't think we disagree that much. All right, so let's talk about the Herald.
Yeah, so stock standard Herald, again, he looks much the same, right? But the difference being that damage number. He's got the extra attack, same rend, same hit wound, but now just 1 damage. Same thing, he's got the decapitating hell sword or whatever they were called in the previous edition, that makes it so it turns his wound into a mortal wound on a 6 to hit, which is cool. Cuts out the wound roll and gives you a mortal wound. The Blood Must Flow is a pretty darn solid ability. That after he attacks, basically you get to pick a bloodletter unit and just immediately have them pile in an attack. Now, doesn't grant them a second bite at the apple, right? It just lets you break the turn order, which is good, because, if you've got this guy, and a bloodletter unit, you can double up on an enemy unit, which normally is a problem, right? So doubling up on an enemy unit is often a bad choice, because if you charge 2 units into their 1, the way that usually works out is you pick one of your units, you attack them, you reduce them some. They are then, when they attack you back, they're going to go and attack your other unit, right? So, like, if you got in there and he didn't have this ability, and you attacked with the Herald, well, then the enemy is just going to smash your bloodletters down, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you attack with the bloodletters, the enemy would just kill your Herald, right?
Right.
So he never even gets to swing.
It's the rule
but
of
this eliminates that problem.
It's the rule of odd, which is
Yes.
strangely. I think it was William Page had said it. I heard him say it the first time, but who knows if it was the first time it was actually coined. But yeah, it's a very effective way of using the strategy. But I like, I do like the way they, what this is an enhancement where the previous hero is a hero hunter. This guy, I like the synergy with a bloodletter unit. You're going to take him with a bloodletter unit, whatever you're hunting for that extra ability.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's move on to the. If you're going to take a Herald of Khorne, why not take one on a Juggernaut? So yeah, you got a murderous charge. This is my favorite type of mechanic to denote the crushing charge. I wish that most or all of the chariots had this. I understand why some of them don't, because not all of these types of units are equal in the crush and the trampling that they do. This is one of the most pronounced ones you'll see. After this model has completed its move charge, and it's before combat starts, so it's not part of the close combat turn. At the very instant that you completed the charge, you roll a die. All right, and every unit within 1 inch, if on a 4+, they suffer die 3 mortal wounds. You really could use this to your advantage. This is a single model, but you can get within. You can definitely navigate where you're close enough to be within 1 inch of, say, another unit nearby the main unit that you're after. You can reroll all failed hit rolls on a charge. Of course you can. Why wouldn't you charge? I like the idea that he's a hero with plenty of beef. There's a lot of times I see these characters with these heroes where they get a mount and they don't seem to get any additional wounds. This guy's got an extra wound, which I think is good. And he's far more killy. His special ability is really, is just for himself, re-rolling the rules on a charge. He doesn't have anything else other than imbuing the ability to cast, to summon more of these guys. Yeah, I like him. I would definitely take him, especially if you're taking a unit of Juggernauts.
Same summon number as the regular Herald. So they both come up on a 5.
Wow, that's surprising. I would think this one would probably be at least one step harder.
You would think, but it is not.
All right, the Blood Throne.
Yeah, the Blood Throne. I'm going to tell you right now, I am a little upset about this. Okay, I have a huge converted Blood Throne, modeled after the Dupe Wagon from Mad Max Fury Road. Okay.
Really? Oh, I can't wait. Do you have that where you can pick it up, or is it?
No, it's across the room.
Okay, I want to see that.
It's massive.
Okay.
And it's built off of a combined Skull Cannon and Cauldron of Blood, and yeah, it's gigantic. And the Blood Throne sucked in the previous edition, okay? But I don't care. That didn't, I still did the model because I wanted to do the big sweet Dupe Wagon. And I was really hoping, one of the first things I did is pop this open and go look at this, because I was like, ooh, everything else got bad, or that was bad got good. Maybe this will be good too, and then I'll have a reason to use it. It's kind of disappointing, honestly. On the bright side, it just has the hero keyword. It's not like a big monster or whatever. So effectively, this is just a bloodletter on a chariot. That's all it really is. Mm. And the problem is it doesn't have anything like that impact hit, like you pointed out on the last one. The Gore Feast just means that, if the Gnashing Maw does wounds or does damage, right, you gain back, you heal that number of wounds.
That doesn't feel very corny to me. Cornish, Khorne-like.
Well, that's a direct pickup from the last edition. This thing always healed wounds. Yeah. The Skull, these things could always heal wounds. The Skull Cannon and the Blood Throne could basically heal. When the little maw on the front of the Skull Cannon, if it started eating things. So that's fine. I get that. And then the other ability, the Decapitating Blow, is just, the Blade of Blood special thing that all the Bloodletters get. So basically, this thing has one special ability. I almost feel like I almost feel like this thing lost out on page count. Like they were writing it and they were like, "Yeah, we make it longer. It's got to take up a whole extra page." Just whatever. Have it do one.
So
Give it one thing.
what did it have in 8th edition? Was it Killing Blow? Was that the decapitating blow?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a lot more killy than that. We don't have a Killing Blow mechanic.
But here's the thing that makes me really depressed about it. Okay, the regular Herald has that. They all have that.
Right.
The decapitating blow thing. Here's the thing that makes me depressed. In 8th edition, and I know that's, we're not doing necessarily comparisons, but this is something that hurt my soul, so I want to share. In 8th edition, if you had a herald with a locus, you remember your demonic heralds had loci, right, which were special abilities that they had that they would share with their demon brethren, right? But normally it was only the loci were only shared with demons in your unit, right?
Right.
However, if you were on a blood throne, you broadcast out that loci to everybody within 6 inches. So effectively, before it was synergy in Age of Sigmar style, before there was Age of Sigmar style synergy, right? It had like a my will be done type of thing.
Right.
But it had like Cetra's my will be done, where you could take that hatred or frenzy or whatever you had on your Herald of Khorne and pass it out to everybody within 6 inches. And I loved that because I loved force multipliers. And with Age of Sigmar, we got so many more good force multiplier things, and then this does nothing.
Yeah, it seems like a missed opportunity. I see exactly what you mean. In a game all about synergies, there's no synergy with this guy.
Nothing. It does nothing. Yeah. It's just a big dumb chariot.
Okay, well, I agree with you. I guess you could, in and of itself, apart from the downgrade or the disappointment from what you would have expected or hoped, if you just look at this with the stats and abilities on its own, what's your thought in terms of its role and capability?
Well, it's hard for me to separate that out.
You're too wounded.
I really am. I'm deeply wounded by this thing. Like it really does bother me to my core. Honestly, I don't like it. I mean, it's fine for what it is. I guess if you're just trying to fish a herald, whatever. But like if there's any kind of comp around it, I wouldn't take it. I don't think it's like, honestly, I'd probably just take the one on the Juggernaut first.
Yeah, I like the one on the Juggernaut far more. The extra wound doesn't bother me. Yep, it's only one extra wound. Okay, let's move on then, since that one is obviously causing you some serious, anguish. Bloodletters of Khorne. Okay, so this is a unit that is a minimum of 10. If they were going to see a similarity in the icon and hornblower, which is usually the kind of theme we see in armies, where they'll have a duplication throughout. Decapitating blow, we've already heard that it has that ability for roll a 6 or more, being if you have modifiers, rolling higher than a 6 total, you'll get that. It'll inflict a mortal wound instead of its normal damage. The icon, the gore-drenched icon, if you roll a 1 when making a battle shock test, I like this, by the way. I really do. You can add another unit of bloodletters on the table. Actually, so you not another on the table. You add to your own unit of bloodletters die 6 more bloodletters. Now, that's just that's a sweet little bonus in my opinion. You can grow your unit or restore maybe any that have been lost. The blood-soaked banner. Each time a unit containing the soaked banner slays a hero, add 1 to any charge rolls you make for it for the rest of the battle. Now, when I first read this, my first thought was, yes, this is a unit that is all about slaying heroes, which is just like your Skull Taker hero that you liked before. What I did not catch until I read this the second time was that it says for each time. So that means that basically, if it continues to slay heroes, this grows, this compounds, this is a ramp up. Do you agree?
I do, absolutely. Yeah, that's how it works. Sure.
Okay,
absolutely.
Great. And then the Murderous Tide. Bloodletters attacking in Moss are a terrifying prospect. You add 1 to hit rolls made for Bloodletter units containing 20 or more models. I love those types of mechanics, by the way. You really have to, and the fact that it has a mechanic that allows you to innately grow this unit back or grow this unit further or restore any lost models. Just those work really well together. I kind of like these guys. They're only a 5 move. They're not going to wow you in terms of the numbers of attacks or, you know, to hit and wound. They got a -1 rend, so I'm not sad about that at all. I think that's pretty good. Then they have this Locus of Fury. Again, you know, the Locus that you had mentioned. At least there's something here that is established a synergy from that's similar to the previous edition.
Yes, this is a callback to the old hatred loci.
And you can reroll hit rolls of 1 if there's a Bloodletter hero with from your army within 8 inches. So I like this stuff. I really do like this unit.
Yeah, bloodletters are good. I mean, they're very solid. Their ability to generate some number of mortal wounds is quite good because it means they can punch through the harder stuff. You know, if they're running up against like, you know, some Chaos Knights or some Sigmarites or anything like that, means they're going to get some stuff through, and at least put some models in the ground, which is good. I think they're a very solid 1 wound choice. They're not totally amazing, you know, but they're not. That is to say, they're not Phoenix Guard, but they're pretty good.
Well, nothing else is really what Phoenix Guard are.
Correct.
That's the what is it? The wall that everything breaks up against.
That is correct. Yes.
Even my what is it? The Iron Breakers are not as tough as they used to be compared to what Phoenix Guard are compared to what they used to be.
Sure.
All right, so Blood Crushers.
Yeah, so Blood Crushers. I mean, which is obviously just the previously much maligned Bloodletters on a juggy. Obviously, you know, these guys were fine in the last edition, but they were always compared to Skull Crushers, which just wasn't a fair comparison in any way. They've got the same icon bearer stuff. They've got the same decapitating blow. I absolutely love these guys though, because the Juggernauts, so they're solid 4 wound models. They're a little light on attacks. That is to say, because the Bloodletter still only has 1. So like if you compare these guys to Snake Surfers, right? Snake Surfers, the skeleton on top's got 2 attacks. Mm-hmm. And these guys don't have a horde of special abilities for their, like the Juggernaut itself, but that's okay. I think these guys are solid, and I'll tell you why I think that. Because of that murderous charge. Mm. A unit of these dudes, 3 or more models, they charge in, right? And that's a lot of bites. Given how many enemies are going to be within 1 inch of one of these Blood Crushers, right? That's a lot of rolls at a 4-up. Mm-hmm. Okay, so like let's imagine they charge in and there are 8 enemies within 1 inch of them. Perfectly reasonable for 3 guys, right? That is 8 4-ups, meaning you're going to get 4 on average, right? And you're going to generate an average of 8 mortal wounds to the unit before you swing at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that mechanic at all. Anytime I see it for at the end of a charge,
yeah,
the ability to get to mortal.
And they've got the reroll hit things on the charge if there is a Bloodletter hero within 8 inches. So you're going to see that a lot. Almost everything in the Demon Army wants one of their own hero types near them. Like the Heralds, the units all have natural synergy to their own Heralds.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised. I don't know if you've seen this before as well. I haven't myself, or if I have, I've just forgotten because I'm obviously diving into all these different army PDFs. But I don't remember seeing a situation where if you could summon a unit, you couldn't summon the minimum amount of the unit. So in this case, the minimum of the unit is 3 or more. And when you summon a Blood Crusher, you summon 1. And the only time you summon a unit of 3 is if you roll really, really well, which is like a 10 or more.
Sure.
So that's a little unusual for them, which probably says a lot about just how powerful they are. Maybe that's why they did it.
Could be. I mean, I don't know what the distinction is. I think there are a couple other examples of that sort of thing. But it is pretty rare. You're certainly right about that. That being said, I don't mind it because, you know, getting one of these dudes up on a 6, I'd rather that than have 3 of them be available on a 10 or something, right? I love that there's no cost. I can basically get the 1 automatically, and if I happen to get lucky enough, that I get the 10, hey, cool, sweet, boom, I'm good to go.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the flesh hounds. Now, I seem to remember flesh hounds being very, very fast when I used to see them. Mostly, actually, when I played 40K. I haven't played a lot of Khorne armies in fantasy or played.
That's because they were terrible.
Yeah,
so that's why.
So, but were they faster? Because 8 inches is kind of modest.
I think that was about their speed. Honestly, I don't remember their move off the top of my head. But that sounds about. I think they were 7, honestly, in the last edition.
Really? Okay. I might be thinking of something else. I just remember playing when I played 40K a whole lifetime ago, that these guys would just roll across the battlefield just lightning fast. Well, let's take a look at them. First of all, one of the things I do like about this unit, it's 5 or more models, so it's a bona fide unit. You certainly could take more of them. With an army that doesn't really have a wizard mechanic that is prevalent, it just doesn't. It's really meant to just rush up and kill. There's a lot of unbinding opportunities to neutralize going up against other wizard heavy armies. The idea that this unit can count as if it was a wizard to unbind, and it also gets +1 if the unit's higher than 10 models. I love that. Because you're going to run this unit up as quick as you can. Try to get into charge range, certainly, but if not, you're probably going to run it. So it's going to be that 8 plus the die 6. I'm pretty happy with that. I like that you can reroll failed charge rolls. So there's a good opportunity for these guys to get into close combat pretty quickly. But moving the unbinding capability further up the field to get within the 18 inches of your opponent, I'm all for that, especially an army like this. In this case, also, you have the locus of abjuration, which means you can reroll failed unbindings if there's a hero nearby. Not a bad thing at all. So I like them. Look, they're not gonna rock your world. They do have 2 wounds each, which is awesome. I think that the big thing here is the unbinding. But I guess we can't discount the fact that they do have 4 attacks each, so that will add up. I actually know now that I'm looking at it, it's a 3 up to hit. I thought it was only a 4 up to hit. I'm actually changing my mind on these guys as I'm reading them. I thought they were okay, and I liked them as a mechanic to neutralize unbinding, but I could see some wealth of opportunity with that 4 attacks, 3 up to hit.
Yeah, you should be. You're coming around to my mode of thinking. I think these dudes are the secret ace up the sleeve in the Khorne army. I love these guys. Damage-wise, they are not offensive powerhouses. 3 to hit, 4 to wound. Yeah, they got 4 attacks. They can pump out a lot. You get them into the right unit, they're going to tear it up. Like, what they ideally want to be doing is hitting the things on the edges. You want to send them around, go kill some war machines, stuff like that. But I love everything about this unit. They need to be forward. They need to be around the flank. They need to be picking on lightly armored units and just murderizing them.
Yeah, I don't know what I was reading. For some reason, I thought they were 1 attack each. Now I'm looking at that 4 now. Maybe I need to get a new prescription of glasses.
I mean, the key is you get these guys in the backfield. You start tearing up the enemy war machines. That means you're also in range to unbind their wizards.
Mm-hmm.
The trick is you're not going to have a bloodletter hero around to reroll if they're in this position, but whatever.
You might.
You might have a
8
inches is pretty close.
You might have a bloodthirster.
But I don't think he's a bloodletter hero.
Is he not?
No, I'm pretty sure the bloodthirster doesn't have the bloodletter keyword. I mean, go look to see if I'm right. But
I will go look real quick. Nope, you're right. It does not have it. You have to have a specific, and they're not.
Yeah, it's got to be like a Herald or Karanak or whatever.
Yeah,
you're going way too far. You are going like way, way, way too far.
Yep, there we are.
Okay.
So how many of these would you take?
The flesh hounds, just a pack of 5. You just like whatever, like 5's fine. I wouldn't say like if you really want 2 units of them, that's fine. It depends on how your comp pack works or whatever, but. Because the key is you just need to have them so you can start summoning them. Again, beautiful summoning mechanic. A 6 for 5 of these guys, I'm in. I'm a buyer. I'm a buyer at a 6 for 5 of these dudes. And if you happen to luck into an 11 or more, bam, buy 5, get 5 free. Love it.
Yeah, let's also realize that here's the synergy I look at it. You can summon these guys within 16 inches of the caster. So your caster is going to move up. You can summon it. You have a wide range of options in terms of where you're going to summon it. You can't be 9 inches from your enemy, but that's within a reasonable. Look, it's a tough charge range. It's gonna you have to roll real well, but they can.
They can reroll failed.
They can reroll charges. So you summon these guys, and then you charge them, and you get 2 shots. That's phenomenal.
I agree.
Yeah, their stock just went up after reading this again. Okay, skull cannons of Khorne, all yours.
Yeah, so they're big cannons, and they do pretty much what you would think they do. That is to say, like, I mean, it's got blood letters on the back, like always. So it's got it's got like the, help dudes with hell blades and decapitating blow and all that, like whatever. But that being said, I'll really just call attention to one thing, okay? I'll call attention to a few things. So first off, Burning Skull, 30-inch range, 3/3, -2 D6, very solid, effective cannon. It can't double shoot or anything like some of the other cannons, but that's okay. I also like the +1 to hit if it's got shooting at something with 10 or more models. So now it's 2/3, -2 and D6. It's good stuff. But what I love is the grind their bones and seize their skulls. This is the reason to take this model. So again, if everybody remembers the skull cannon, it's got the big mouth on the front, right? Okay. So effectively, if the Gnashing Maw, you've only got 1 attack, hits on a 4, wounds on a 3, right? But if that thing causes any wounds, then at the end of that phase, you can shoot him with your cannonball as though we're the shooting phase. So when this thing's like a mad dog that gets a hold of somebody and it's like rah, 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 boom, and just shoots the cannon right in their face once it's got a hold of them.
And here, I love it even more.
Amazing.
You don't have to shoot the unit you're fighting. It just says you can shoot the cannon. You could shoot something else. And that's how I'm reading it. At the end of that phase, you can make a burning skull attack as though it were your shooting phase. It doesn't say you have to shoot the unit that you're in combat with. It's a shooting attack.
No, that's absolutely correct. You're right. I just like to think of it that way because it's funny to me. But yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, the actual fluff of what's going on is obviously that it's consuming the living being, and that's powering up the machine, hence allowing the cannon to fire again.
Which is awesome. I think this thing is meant to get close so that it can get into combat to get that extra mechanic. So it's certainly nice that it has an 8 move, much faster than the movement of almost any other of all the other cannons I've seen.
Oh yeah, I mean, this thing will get around the board. Yeah. It's great. And a summon up of an 8, so less than a 50% chance, but still not impossible. So hey, why not?
Yeah, and you could summon it and get it right into the action too. Okay, we're gonna move past the Nurgle stuff, and I think the next thing we're gonna go is we're gonna go after the. Let's see. We're gonna hit Slaanesh. So before we actually talk about Slaanesh, why don't we? I mean, is there any more Khorne stuff that at the bottom here other than the formations?
No, I mean that's basically it.
So just a synopsis of Khorne in general in terms of your feel. How do you feel it is? The impact and the capability is in Age of Sigmar versus, let's say, how it was used in 8th edition.
They're better certainly now. They're good. I like what they do. I like most of the units they have available. Yeah, I mean, I think they have good synergy for the most part. They're a get across the board and smash into your enemy and kill them army, right? I mean, that's what they're gonna do, and they're pretty good at that.
And they have some shooty component and with certainly not a lot, but if they get into your face, they're gonna wreck it. And they do have an ability to suppress magic, which I think is also a great combination. So if you like the Khorne, you're going to be pretty happy, I think, with what Age of Sigmar has to offer. Okay.
Yeah, I think their strengths are they have a lot. Most everything in the army has rend, except for the dogs, and everything that's got a blood letter attached to it has some ability to deal mortal wounds, right? So between having rend and having mortal wounds, generally popping out semi-regularly, means that heavily armored or tough targets are going to be easier for your army to deal with.
And before we get to Slaanesh, some of the newer stuff that has some of the more or Age of Sigmar set stuff in the more recent releases, a lot of that stuff is Khorne related, is it not?
Oh yeah, totally. Yes,
So,
it's a huge Khorne release, but it's all mortals. And
Right.
and most of the bonuses to that specifically say, mortal followers of Khorne. So if you look at like the Blood Hunt or whatever it's called, that has like Kirkus Cole, the Lord of Khorne, and the Bloodstoker and the Korgorath and all that stuff. All their synergies say mortal followers of Khorne.
Right, and at some point, I'm sure I'll circle back and I'll talk about the starter set. But there's such a plethora of information out there when Age of Sigmar was first introduced. I didn't dive into it. I wanted to kind of bring in people that were legacy players and let them see more of what's new in Age of Sigmar with the stuff that they already were playing. But there's certainly a lot more to Khorne than just even what we see on this because of the new releases since Age of Sigmar came about. Now I know it's my turn, but first of all, you're the guest. Second of all, I know you're a lover of Slaanesh. So why don't we have you kick off the Keeper of Secrets? I'm sure that's your first love.
Oh, I love this girl. Yeah, absolutely. I've had her on the table. I've used this model in Age of Sigmar, and she did quite well for me. So let's talk downsides real quick. Downsides: low number of wounds. So she's for a big. If we remember our Bloodthirster from 10 minutes ago, we had 14 wounds.
Mm.
She's only got 10. So it's a lot easier for her to get knocked down. That being said, I think she's fantastic. She's not super offensive like the Khorne people. At her most effective, she pops out 8 attacks, which are all very effective attacks with good rend that do good damage. So her basic claws, she's got 6 of to start, 3 up, neg 1 rend, 2 damage each. Not bad. And then the big Great Blade, 3 up, 2 up, again at most effective, neg 2 rend, d3 damage. Certainly very solid there. And then as well, she's got a reroll. She can reroll wound rolls of 1, meaning that if that Great Blade connects, I mean, they're all wounds.
Mm.
And neg 2 rend on that is so amazing. That sword is really like a big cleaver. I'm gonna save one of her abilities. I'm gonna save her Dark Temptations for last. To me, so she's got Kako, obviously one of the most feared spells of 8th edition. Yeah, this is like, and boy, does this spell take a hit.
Yeah, it should have.
Sure, that's fine.
But it's still effective, this one.
It's okay. It became very army dependent. So basically, it has a casting value of 6, which is nice because that's very low. But if it's successfully cast, you roll 2 dice, and each enemy unit within 6 inches of the caster. So for D3 mortal wounds, if their bravery is less than a total rolled. 1, that's not a very long range, and you have to be very careful with her of what she gets into because she can get overwhelmed and brought down pretty fast. So if something's 6 inches away, that means that it's going to be into her soon if it wants to be. And 2, like against many armies, that is just going to do 0 wounds. Because undead, bravery 10. Lizardmen, bravery freaking 10 all over the place. Demons, bravery 10. Like, that's a lot of the armies. And there's plenty of people who are all bravery like 7 and 8. Okay, well, it's entirely possible that you roll the 7 and get nothing.
Yeah.
So Kako, I would say, is like, against certain armies, like if you're fighting goblins, hey, great, I guess you can do D3 mortal wounds to those goblins. Unfortunately, there's like 40 more of them. The problem is there's not many things that are worth doing that D3 wounds to.
Yeah.
That also have a low bravery, because that would be the most damaging to elite forces, but elite forces have high bravery.
Yeah.
Okay, so despite how much I don't like her spell, I don't care. She has Arcane Shield, or Arcane Bolt and Mystic Shield, which is fine. And she's going to gain the ability to summon everything that gets in the army. So, again, fine. That's what I want to be doing most of the time anyways. So her spell can suck. It does not diminish her at all. And she knows her own spell. Okay.
Yeah. She could summon another Keeper of Secrets.
Yeah, like she can summon herself,
right,
which is great. The big problem with that is who the heck owns multiple Keeper of Secrets models. But hey, whatever, that's fine. It's all about her command ability. Oh boy, is this a good one? So the Keeper of Secrets use this ability. Pick a single Slaanesh Daemon unit within 12 inches. In your next combat phase, that unit can be selected to pile in and attack twice. So this is amazing. And she was running with, so in the time where I used her, which is like maybe a week and a half ago, I had her running next to a Soul Grinder. And I wouldn't mind hitting him if we have time at the end. But anyways, the Soul Grinder is an absolute monstrosity. And having him pile in and attack twice meant that he would just absolutely crush everything in his way.
Oh my god. It's bad enough attacking once with a Soul Grinder.
Exactly. So, yeah, like, put on the right model, that's a game winner.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. Now, the Dark Temptations, which I said I'd cover last, is hilarious. In your opponent's hero phase, you can tempt an enemy hero with a gift of power. The tempting offer is, so you pick one of their heroes, and you say, hey, would you like a gift of power? And if the hero accepts, this is totally at the other player's discretion, which I love. They get to make up to 6 extra attacks with one of their weapons, any one of their weapons. So it could be something ludicrous that's doing like that they normally only get one of and does like a bajillion damage with a huge rend, right? I mean, if you think about like, imagine her going against a Khorne army and granting that to that Bloodthirster of Khorne.
Exactly.
That's like popping out cannonball attacks. Goes from 4 to 10 attacks. It's massive.
And
however,
the residual ability of the extra mortals that could come from that too.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
however, if they accept the gift in any way, by the way, they don't have to make 6. They can make anything up to 6.
Right.
However, if they accept the gift, okay, any of its hit rolls that are a 1 before modifiers.
Key before modifiers.
Correct. So it's literally just they roll a 1 to hit, right? That's what this is saying. Their soul is immediately devoured by the Keeper of Secrets and it is slain. Boom.
Now, I have questions.
Okay, go.
First of all, let me finish what your thought was, so because I'm sure you had a comment on that.
It's hilarious how it puts the enemy into a situation where they're like, I don't know, I really do want that.
Yeah, I think I take this bargain most of the time, but depends on the hero. But let me just make some points. First of all, this is one of those abilities that doesn't feel silly. It just feels awesome. You don't have to do a dance. You don't have to go and do some kind of wacky thing. You're just basically giving an option to your opponent to get some extra attacks, and if they at the risk of losing that character. Now, here's the question I have. Beyond the fact that I love it and it's awesome, let's say you opt to take all those 6 extra attacks. You roll them. It does say immediately they're devoured, but if I roll all those extra attacks and I roll 5 rolls, but one of them is a 1, I would say because they're immediate, even though it says immediate, you've rolled all those attacks, you get to see the resolution of those attacks. But at the same time, you're devoured because you still have hit. The wounding is just the act of you rolling to see if it gets wounded. But it's still an instantaneous situation where you've hit something and done some damage. So I think you get to resolve the full extent of these attacks, and then of course you lose your guy. What do you think?
I believe that is wrong.
Really?
Yes, and I think that's actually very clear. If you go to your Age of Sigmar rules, the sequence of attacking is very clearly spelled out. Step 1, resolve hit rolls. Step 2, resolve damage. Step 3, so on and so forth, right? These are individual steps that are taken. Okay? And so those if they are steps, that means they can be broken apart. And hence, if you roll on it, if you roll, now those are also broken. You're supposed to break them up by like simultaneously attacks. Technically, you're supposed to go like 1 at a time on your rolls, but you can.
It gives you the option. It gives you the option of rolling them independently, which I think is a little obnoxious. If you have like an archer unit of like 40 guys and you're rolling each one independently, that's a little obnoxious.
Right. They tell you like, they say group them if they're all the same hit. So now theoretically, let's say let's just imagine a model that looks like the Keeper, since she happens to be on the screen and we can talk about it. So I have my razor sharp claws, right? And I accept this, but I'm going to take the 6 extra attacks with the Great Blade. Okay? Like, because of course I am. That's the better thing, right? If I accept the gift, okay, and I attack with my razor sharp claws, I get to resolve those completely because I get to complete all of the steps by the order of operations. Then I go to the 1 to my Great Blade. If I roll a 1 to hit with the Great Blade and my 8 attacks now, model's dead, never resolve damage. Okay? Because it's very clear here, its soul is immediately devoured. That means stop the step you're on, kill the model.
Okay. Very well supported argument. Let's take the view of that argument being the case. Okay. Would you then take the option, if you take the deal, to roll each one independently? That way, if say 1 hits, do you complete the resolution, or are you waiting to see each one independently that hits and go to the next one?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, could you then just split up your attacks so that way you get to resolve it? Right. I don't know. Okay. I would have to go, like, I'd have to think about that or grab the rules or look at it. Because you may be able to sort of, do that in that regard.
Honestly, the way I look at it, you're going to lose your guy. I would just let somebody complete the resolution of their attacks. Me personally, I would say you lost the hero, you lost the deal, but you got your attacks. Let's make it a fair trade here. That's the way I would handle it.
I would say roll all your attacks at once, just like you do for every other attack you make in the game.
Right.
Stop trying to be a cheater. You took the gift. Now man up, get your big boy pants on, and either murder my model or suck yourself into the pit. But stop being a sis about it and trying to game the rules because you're too afraid to pay the piper for the power that you wanted.
If you take, and let's also realize that you don't have to take all those 6 attacks. I think you pointed that out also.
Yep.
It's up to 6. Okay. But this is a nice deal. It's a conundrum. It's definitely going to be something that you're going to have to sit and ponder if it's presented to you. And I love stuff like that.
It's a very Magic the Gathering mechanic.
Yeah.
There's a lot of this sort of thing in Magic.
It's very Slaanesh.
Yes.
All right. The Mask of Slaanesh. This, I think, goes in the other direction. I'm going to start right off the bat with the silliness because we're just coming off the tail of the Keeper. I'm going to go right to the unnatural reflexes. At the start, what I'm talking about is the Endless Dance. I'll get to the Endless Dance then. Unnatural reflexes. Okay, at the start of the combat phase, whenever an enemy model targets the mask in the combat phase, and your opponent rolls match your dice roll, that attack automatically misses the mask when it nimbly dances aside. Okay, that's very fluffy. I like that. I'm going to go right to the Endless Dance here.
What that effectively means, by the way, is that you've got a 50-50 shot of giving your enemy -1 to hit.
Okay, I'm with that. It's nice to have.
You have half a Nurgle mark.
Okay. you have -1/2 to a hit roll.
Yes.
I don't know. Somebody will math hammer that. Okay. If you're dancing, I don't know anybody who plays any kind of war game and dances. While rolling the dice for the mask's attack in the combat phase, you can reroll any failed to hit rolls. If at any point you can coerce your opponent to join you, and you can reroll any failed wounds as well. I cannot fathom a situation where I am going to coerce any of the guys I play with into dancing.
No, I mean, you just have to look at this like you're never going to get the second.
You're never going to get the second one off.
I attempted it. I ran the mask because I always run the mask. I love the mask. And I was like, hey, man, look, I know how to do the robot. Do you know how to do the robot? Show me how to do the robot.
Sure, you got
and
it.
He didn't do it.
You re-roll your failed to hits. You ain't getting that with failed to wounds.
Oh, I was pop locking the whole time. Just not even when it was her attacks, just because that's how I play. I naturally pop lock.
All right, so yeah, 6 attacks, not bad as a main attack. 3 up, 4 up, -1 rend, and you get an extra 1 to bonus with the Staff of Masks. Infernal Choreographer. It is impossible to stand still while in the presence of the mask. So enemy units that start their movement phase within 12 inches of the Masochist Slaanesh half their move that turn. I love this. I love stuff like this. The movement phase is so important in Age of Sigmar. The ability to neuter an enemy model with whatever their circumstances. That if you whether it's to retreat or to make any kind of motion to get closer, this could have an impact on whether they can actually get in and charge if they roll poorly. I just don't like the endless dance thing. I don't think it's going to come into play. I think it's over the top silly. But in most cases, the silly rules, I say you just do it. You don't have to do the silly dance, or you don't have to do the crazy, toast or whatever. You get the rule. Just go do it. And this one, yeah, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to lose that second half because I ain't dancing with you.
Yeah, that's fine. Of course, absolutely. I think it's just like Conrad talking back to you. It's just never going to happen. That's fine. Those silly things don't bother me. I'll gladly pop lock and get my extra to hit. I don't care. I'm not better than that.
But Conrad can talk back to you. I think you were the one who said you would have a little
Yeah, put the speaker in him. Sure, absolutely. I'll do the work. I'm just saying, like, it's unlikely unless you're willing to go the distance on a conversion. But that Infernal Choreographer is so good. The fact that that's a bubble effect to all enemy units in 12 inches, that is everything good that the other one wasn't.
Yeah.
Because that is a huge bubble to be having move. And the key is that you need to remember, she's not walking around alone in an empty battlefield. Like, as I said, I used her, and this was a crippling ability because it meant that my opponent couldn't go and get around when you have to figure in that 3-inch bubble around, your units and stuff where that they can't move into without charging. I was just locking his stuff down to the point where, like, there was barely anywhere for him to be able to move and retreat and such. So, very potent ability.
Okay, you've got the Herald.
The Herald of Slaanesh. So yeah, she can ride a steed where her move goes up to 12. Super fast. She's got a thing we're going to see 100 times, which is the Deadly Grace, where if you make a hit of 6 or more, you immediately make 1 extra attack using the same weapon. And she can reroll failed save rolls. Not as great here since she's already on a 5-up. Like, that's a little high to make that worth anything, but I appreciate the thought. Nice part, summons up on a 5, so perfectly reasonable. 6 attacks on a 3-up, 4-up with a -1 rend and 1 damage. Sure, it's fine. She's not amazing. She's okay. Yeah. I mean, she exists to be a Slaanesh hero. That's what we're going to see later.
Yes, the synergies. Okay, we'll get to that. But yeah, she may not be incredibly awe-inspiring by herself, but put her on a chariot, and you've got something a little bit more interesting. Of course, I always find it weird that you put them on a chariot, but you still don't increase the wounds in most cases. So I'm a little disappointed about the 5 wounds. But I like this. You already mentioned Deadly Grace. I like the impossibly quick. You always count as having. When this model runs, it's always a 6, so there's never going to be that disappointment for the 6 for the rolling a 1 when you try to run. After this, it has the excessive blades, which is a very similar mechanic that we saw with Khorne and with a lot of the other very crushing or slicing and dicing type chariot models. If you roll 4 or more, in this case it's only 1 mortal wound for all enemy units within an inch, but still anything mortal wounds is good.
Yep.
Disturbing Beauty. Your opponent must subtract 1 from all hit rolls made for heroes when they target this model. So it's really none of the rank and file units or monster units that are not also heroes are going to get this. So if you have a hero, and you really want to focus on this particular unit, okay, you're going to eat that one to hit. But if it's a rank and file, that Disturbing Beauty, apparently they're not too odd.
Yeah, I will say I'm not enamored of this model. It's okay. I mean, if you're in some kind of wound limited compact, it's fine because effectively, because the no additional wounds is actually a benefit in a comp limited system, because you can get a Herald or her, right? And you paid to the comp, you paid the same. And certainly this thing does more attacks than that. So in that regard, yeah, sure, it's an advantage. It's just I don't like its abilities a super lot. Like impossibly quick, you always have a 6 when you run. I mean, that's cool. That means this thing's move is 18 inches, but it doesn't have any ability to charge when it runs. So like,
Right. If it had a run and charge, then it would be. I think it would be much more interesting. I agree with you.
right. It's okay. Like the disturbing beauty, like man, who cares? 9 times out of 10, that doesn't matter how many heroes are fighting this model. I mean, they're just not going to fight this model with heroes, or if they do, it's going to be potent enough that they don't care. And the excess of blades is all right, but as you said, it's 1 mortal wound, not D3 or anything. So it's like, meh, okay.
All right. Let's talk about a Herald of Slaanesh on an Exalted Secret Chariot.
Yeah, so if you remember, this is like the massive chariot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Was it like the 4-horse? Lots of blades? Is that what it is?
Yeah, this thing's like really gigantic. It's basically like 2 secret chariots and a health layer shoved together into one
It's a very
giant model.
It's a very delicate model. It's very easy to break. It's got a lot of little spindly things, right?
It does have a lot of little spindly things. I would say it specializes in the spindly things. So, you know, with this one, okay, obvious advantage is that this thing puts out an unreasonably high number of attacks vis-a-vis its wounds characteristic. So for only 9 wounds, this thing generates 20 attacks, which is a lot. It does the D3 mortal wound impact hits, which is good, certainly. Also, this thing is massive. Like, the model is massive. So no matter what base you have it on, it's going to do, like, it's going to be in contact with probably a lot of dudes within an inch.
And it's going to command board space, too, with the zone of control.
Sure, absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's got the standard Deadly Grace, Disturbing Beauty, which, again, whatever. But the swirling shapes and unholy hues, I think, is actually quite strong. In that your opponents add 1 to the result of any battle shock test they make. Anytime you're adding to battle shock, like that's dangerous, because it's especially dangerous when you get into elite enemies, and that's where this person wants to be. You know, you're in Sigmarines or, you know, something like Demigryphs where they've got a decent bravery, but, you know, you take 1 or 2 off, that extra +1, every one of those things that you make just walk away and you're getting 4 or 5 free wounds. That's pretty solid.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty beefy. I like that it has a 12-inch move. This thing should move pretty quick. I mean, it's Slaanesh. 9 wounds. And yeah, 20 attacks. Wow. And I like
none of them are anything to write home about, but, you know, it's fine. I mean, the reality is it's got way more than 20 attacks because statistically you're going to get at least 3 6s out of that, right? And hence it's actually averaging 23 attacks. So I mean, that's pretty decent. I'm sorry, wait, no, that's only the piercing claws. So forget what I just said. It's averaging 21 attacks. I apologize, because only the piercing claws get that ability.
Okay, let's move on to the Demonettes. Oh my God, Demonettes, so good. I 2 attacks each. Let's take a look at this thing one at a time. They're only one wound. They've got a 5-up save, which means they're very easily taken down. But let's take a look at some of their abilities. First of all, they have Lithe and Swift, run and charge. I love anything that's run and charge or run and shoot. Is, I think, phenomenal. I think that's absolutely, those are the kinds of abilities that separate units from the pack. Graceful Killers. You mentioned this before just now. Anytime you roll a 6 or more, they get an extra attack. So they're starting out with 2 attacks. You're going to have 10 models in a unit. All right. You may take more because you have a bonus of also that if you can each time you make a hit roll of 5 or more. It says, let's see, Demonettes can make 1 extra attack. All right. If they've got 20 or more models. All right. It says, well, let me see, with their piercing claw, each time you make a hit roll of 5 or more, if they're okay. So there's 2 factors here. It's not just that they have 20 or more. You have to then, when you roll, you see if you roll 5 or 6. Is that modified?
Yeah, sure. If you have +1 to hit for some reason, yeah.
Okay, so still, there's a way, there's methods here for you to substantially increase the amount of attacks. These guys could clearly go from that 2 attacks to 4 attacks. Maybe it won't be on every one of them, but you're going to start adding on plenty of attacks. These guys are going to rip through things. All right, it's a 4+ to hit. It's it's a little high, 4 up to wound, but it's got at least the -1 rend. I just think that they're gonna rip out a lot of attacks, and you're gonna force you to make a lot of armor saves. And unless you're just have an ungodly crazy armor save with terrain and mixed mystic shield, you're gonna fail a lot of these rolls, and you're gonna take wounds. Like Eilman, I think, is the same as we've seen already. They can reroll the hit rolls if they're within 6 inches of a demonette hero. And these are, what is it? Let's say, no, excuse me, I'm saying this wrong. Your opponent must reroll hit rolls of 6 or more against units of demonettes that are within 6 inches of a demonette hero. Okay, that's great. So you stick a demonette hero nearby, and your opponents are going to have to reroll hits. So they're gonna miss more. So these guys have a mechanic to do more attacks, i.e., more damage, and then the ability to, in some cases, limit the volume of attacks they're going to get back, which will help a little bit because they don't have the greatest save.
When you play Daemonettes of Slaanesh and you bring them in for combat, you should have your phone next to you, and you should have Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball queued up, because that is what happens with these chicks. They are, first of all, if you don't have 20 in a unit, you're doing it wrong. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. You should have, probably you want to have up near 30.
30.
That way you can take some casualties and still be over that 20 mark. Here's the key with that 5 or more to hit. And that is so much better than 6 or more to hit. I know it sounds stupid, but it's statistically massive. Okay? Massive. And here's the key with that. That next attack you make also benefits from this ability. That next attack you make also benefits from this ability. All right? So,
and it benefits from the 6 or more. Yeah.
Here's what I mean. Let's say I get 8 of these girls into something, but the unit itself is more than 20, right? So they're making 16 attacks. Statistically, if I'm on a 5 up, that means, let's do 18 so the numbers are nice and round. Okay, so I got 9 into it. Statistically, 6 of them generate that. Okay? Meaning I now went from 18 attacks to 24.
Right.
Statistically, 2 of those also are 5 ups. I just went to 26. Okay? And I had individual Daemonettes roll out 4 extra attacks because they just kept getting 5 ups. Hits, extra attack, hits, extra attack, hits, extra attack. It just keeps going until you don't roll a 5 up. There's nothing stopping you from continually having this. Of course, theoretically, you could just get 20 extra attacks. That's highly statistically unlikely. But the difference between a 6 up and a 5 up is the difference between a good ability and a crappy ability. Or at least, if not crappy, at least, meh or average. So not only that, but the fact that these chicks are like lightning across the board. So just to jump ahead real quick, if you actually are using the Slaanesh formation, you add one of the special abilities is that the move of everything in your army increases by an inch. Okay? So that means these chicks always move 7 inches plus a d6.
Nice.
And so their average move is 10 inches, and then they charge, and they come in like a wrecking ball. Even on a 4-up, doesn't matter. That's fine. That rend and -1 is what it's all about. I had a pack of these girls lace into some Chaos Knights, and that did not end well for the Chaos Knights.
Yeah. Okay. They were also this level of killy in the previous edition. They're probably a little bit more so with this mechanic.
Yeah, love them.
All right, Seekers.
Yeah, Seekers. So standard icon bearer and hornblower crap that all these things have.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to these, I mean, it's speed kills. I mean, that's what this unit is. Okay. So it's a 14-inch base move. They've got the standard Seeker or Daemonette thing of the extra attack on a 6. when they run, you roll 2 dice and add them together. And if they're within 12 inches of a Daemonette hero, they add 1 to all charge and run rolls.
Oh my god.
So I mean, like, just lightning. They're going to be, that means if they've got a, like, say, a Herald on a Seeker, so she could actually keep up with them. Even she can't totally keep up with them because her move only goes up to 12. But she can probably stay within 12 inches. That means they move 15 plus an average of 7. When these chicks run, they move an average of 22 inches, 23 if you're in the formation.
Wow.
That means they are across the board, period.
Yeah.
Now, they can't run and charge, or I'm sorry, they can run and charge as well. Exactly the opposite. Because that Quicksilver speed doesn't just give you a 2d6, it also gives you the ability to run and charge. Holy crapola on a cracker. I mean, so they move, let's say 16 base because you're in the formation. They run an extra 7 on average. They go 23 inches, and then they charge. So they can, on averages, statistical averages, they can hit a unit 30 inches away from them.
Which is the deployment zone.
Yeah, which is the back of the deployment zone, right? Yeah, I mean, they're attacking another battlefield. They're so fast. I mean, it's insane. And these chicks are summoned, on an 8, which again is pretty reasonable. But once again, they have that wonderful bonus, just like the previous cav we saw, where if you roll that 11, bing, 10 Seekers. So you summon these things, and if you happen to get that 8 off and summon these lunatics, they take off like a shot across the board. Like, God forbid you can place them within 12 inches, because now that means that their effective range from your caster is 42 inches.
Right. Well, they can't move the turn that they were summoned in. But they can charge.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, but they can still charge. Yeah,
but
right.
still,
I'm sorry.
Still, if you don't finish them off, yes, they can be across the board. Certainly into any war machines in the back.
Yes.
And they do lots. There's lots of attacks here. We got 4 attacks each.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean they're solid. Obviously these are like, I don't know if they're the fastest unit in the game, like just raw speed they can generate, but they might be. I mean, that's really fast.
Well, they were fast before.
Sure.
It makes sense. That's scary. All right. Fiends of Slaanesh. Okay, so this is any number of models in a unit, 4 wounds a pop. Good move, 12. Obviously, nothing like the Seekers. But, okay, we got 4 attacks each with their pincers, 1 with the Stinger. Not bad on the statistics. I like the die 3 damage on the Barbed Stinger, but it's only 1 attack. But it does have a 2-inch range. If you roll a 6 or more on the wound, you get a -2 rend. That's pretty good on the pincers. You're going to get 4 attacks on that. So there's a decent chance you're going to get a 6. Your opponent, I like this. In the close combat, your opponent is basically got a little Nurglish ability. So not on the shooting phase, just in the close combat phase. But when you're talking about a unit that has a 5-up save and 4 wounds a pop, all right, 5-up save is not that great, but -1 to hit, you don't see that mechanic all too much outside of Nurgle. It happens with some. I know you see that in like the Sylvaneth army with the Dryads, I think, when they're near a forest. But it's fairly rare, but it does have a huge impact in the game because cover doesn't do that in this game. We know about the Locus of Grace already. I like this. I like this unit. I think it's got a good mobility. It's got a good amount of dish out in terms of damage, and it's a little bit hard to take down, even though it's only got a 5-up save. So I definitely I would include.
Yeah, they're all right. I haven't. They are. I would say they're pretty average.
I think they're a solid unit. I take the Seekers over them any day though.
Sure.
Okay, Seeker Chariots of Slaanesh.
Yeah, so really fast chariots. I mean, again, like attack-wise, they're not incredibly impressive. They are super fast though. I mean, 6 wounds, which is fine. This chariot that's just a chariot has more wounds than the hero on the chariot.
Yeah, that's weird.
So whatever. And again, it runs for the 6, meaning it can always move 18 inches during the move, but then it cannot charge. It has the lower value impact hit and the deadly grace thing. Again, yeah, it's all right. I mean, like the you can take any number of models in it, so you can have a big unit of these chariots if you want. I don't know who I own 2 of these, and I think I own more than most people. That is to say, like, this was not a popular model in the last edition.
Do you think it's
So,
more effective?
What's that?
You think it's more effective in this edition than last?
Yes, but that's not a great comment. I mean, like, before it was like a 2 out of 10. Now it's like maybe a 4.
Okay.
So, like, yes, it's better.
Stock has gone up.
Yeah.
All right, let's move off to the Exalted Seeker of Chariot of Slaanesh. Now, again, this is any number of models. I think this has a little bit of sprinkling of a lot of the stuff that we've liked in previous units. First off, it's any number of models and they're 9 wounds each. That's a little crazy. It doesn't have a generic number. It's not 1. It's any number. I haven't seen many. I mean, outside of the Varg Gulf becoming a unit, I haven't seen many of these that were multi-wound to this level that you could take in volume, in tremendous volume. That's pretty crazy. This is one of those situations where a battle shock test, if you fail it, you're gonna lose a lot of wounds. But let's take a look at the things that we like. Okay, for beyond the fact that it has a ridiculous amount of attacks, 6 of these piercing claws, which are going to have an impact when you look at one of their abilities. 3 of the whips, 8 of the tongues. This is. I think this unit can dish out a ton. So it's got your opponent must add 1 to any battle shock results within 3 inches. The exalted excess of blades. This is like the same kind of thing we saw before, where if you're within 1 inch at the end of a charge on a 4-up, your unit suffers die 3 mortal wounds. So if you have 3 or 4 of these chariots, that's gonna add up right after the charge, and they have a 12 move, so they're gonna get pretty far across the table, so they can get within charge range. Deadly Grace, same thing as before. Each time you make a hit of a roll 6. It looks like, it's not just with the piercing claws, it's also with the whips. They can make 1 extra attack, and with the volume of attacks, that's going to come into play. At least whatever the statistics are, it's going to come into play enough that you're going to get some extra attacks. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I have a couple. 1, no one owns 2 of these, so they're any number in a unit's comical at best. This chariot's like $1 bajillion and hard to find, and no one in the universe owns 2 of these. If you out there and watching this own 2 of these, put a comment below with a link to a picture.
Wow, really?
Photos or it didn't happen. It's a very rare model to have 2 of, because there was just no reason in the previous world to have multiple.
But the picture, tell me what's different from the Herald of Slaanesh model, or because it looks fairly the same in the picture. So what am I missing?
What do you mean? Do you mean like rules wise, or
no? In terms of the model. In terms of the model, you said it's a rare model. The picture looks like it's very similar.
It is. It's just the Herald on Chariot or whatever. It's just that Exalted Chariot is not like it was direct only, and you had no reason to own more than 1 of them. I don't know anybody in the world who's ever owned 2 of these things.
Oh, so you could convert this though. You could take the Herald of Slaanesh, or you could take the 4 Seeker Chariot, and you could make it with a little bit a little more unique model on the top and call it an Exalted Seeker, right?
I mean, yeah, ish. Like, you're not going to kit bash normal chariots into an Exalted Chariot without some amount of work. Yeah, it's so much bigger.
Oh, really? It's that much bigger?
It's huge.
Okay. I've never seen one, so. But I imagine that's the same reason why many people didn't have multiple dragons and multiple monsters and multiple war machines, these massive war machines. Maybe in some cases, they had 2 in previous editions. Now there's an excuse to have multiples where they didn't have before.
Oh, sure.
Because this thing is, in my opinion, this thing is batshit crazy at 9 wounds a pop with all those attacks. Having like a unit of even 2 of these is pretty crazy to me. All right, Hellflayers.
Yes. All right. So, is it my turn or your turn?
It's your turn.
Okay. Hellflayer. So, classically, the thing about the Hellflayer that separated this from the other chariots was the soul scent, and that's true here again as well. So, and basically the way that works is as follows. So, like, the Hellflare's whirling blades mow down the enemy. And this one is the tractor. Everybody called this, like, the tractor because it's the blades are all sideways. And, like, it's a weird chariot, like, how it looks.
Okay.
But basically picture a big rolly, spiky, like a rolling pin you would use to flatten bread or something, but with spikes all over it. And that's what's attacking you. So when it mows people down, it transmits their souls into an exhilarating incense that drives its riders into an ecstatic frenzy. So after this unit has finished its charge move, roll a die. For each enemy model within 1 inch. For each roll of a 4 or more, that model's unit suffers a mortal wound. So far we're standard old Seeker Chariot thing, right? However, we've got this extra little thing that if any mortal wounds are caused in this way, you can reroll failed hit rolls for the Aluris's piercing claws and the Daemonette's flensing whips until the end of the turn. Basically, everybody except the steeds are affected by this, right? So you get your extra rerolls to hit. This thing's funny because given the shape of it, it actually could bring itself into contact with a lot of people very easy. And then it was the wide chariot. So it was a weird, if you can picture the old 8th edition chariot base, right? Which was 50 by 75 long or 50 by 100 long, right?
Yep.
Okay. Instead, the Hellflare was sideways. Like you turned the base sideways, and that's how you built the Hellflare. So the frontage was 100 instead of 50, and it was only 50 deep. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So because of that, it can actually get into a lot more models because the nature of the way this thing is setting. That would probably still be the same even on the new oval bases.
I wish we had a picture of it to like accentuate the examples that you're giving. You have a picture?
Sure I do. Yeah, absolutely.
Let me know and I'll click over.
So, okay.
It's the one thing I wish. I'm going to click over to you. It's the one thing I wish that these PDFs had. I mean, they have it in the app where they have pictures when you're pulling stuff up, but the PDFs that we have here, I wish they had it.
So first, here's your Exalted Seeker Chariot.
All right, let's take a look at that. Okay, yeah. So it's not just side by side. It's longer too.
Yes, it's on like the Soul Grinder base.
But you could convert this out of a regular kit. You just have to do a little bit more to it. It'd probably be almost like 1.5 kits of the other chariot. But you could do it.
This is basically 2 full kits if you want. I mean, sure, depending on how much you want to fake it, but like it's 2 full kits of rollers on the back.
Oh my God, look at that thing. That's crazy.
So that's the Exalted Chariot. Yes, absolutely massive. Okay. Now the Hellflare is the same width, right?
Yeah.
But you can see only one roller.
Yeah.
So that's how this thing is set up, right? It's these crazy chicks like dragging it across the thing.
It's a little easier to deploy that.
Yeah, but you can see it's like this is way like this chariot base in the old world was such a joke for this model. Like, look at how much this thing is hanging over its base.
Yeah.
There is no part of this model that isn't over the base. The girls here are barely on the base.
Yeah, let me just say this about the rules. I've been playing in different circles, measure from the base, and most circles measure from the model, just because that's the basic rule. This is a unit that substantially benefits from measure from the model. I mean, this army, Slaanesh, is outrageous in how much board control it takes with that 3-inch rule. All those whips and all those little spikes. My God. Yeah. To try and accommodate the difference in using the rule measure from the base versus measure from the model, you'd probably have to have a base that's twice as big as what you normally would with these models.
Yeah, everything I do is measure from the base. So there you go.
All right. So we're done with
I'm back to you. Yeah, we're good. We're back to you.
All right. So are we going to talk about the Demon Prince?
I'll let you say. I'll leave the Demon Prince for your next Demons of Chaos reviewer. Yeah. I choose the Soul Grinder. Yeah, let's move to the Soul Grinder because I think we've talked about the Demon Prince already in the Warriors of Chaos. I guess there's
I'll just read what it says for the Demon Prince as it goes to the Slaaneshi part. They're Lithian exotic. Okay, when your opponent selects a unit within 3 inches of the Demon Prince to pile in an attack, you can immediately select the Demon Prince to pile in an attack before the enemy unit. So it's an interrupt. Okay, you get to change the turn. Okay, the model can only do this if it is not already attacked. So you hold your Demon Prince back, your Slaaneshi Demon Prince. You wait for your opponent to attack, and then you basically trump that and then whittle it down, hurt it, maybe diminish some of its fight back ability, or maybe you can diminish some of the models that might have gotten a chance to hit in the first place. That's really the difference. But otherwise, the Demon Prince it's a Demon Prince. Let's go to your Soul Grinder, because I know you want to do this one, and of course, how are we going to finish without doing a Soul Grinder and the synergies that a Soul Grinder is going to provide?
I love this thing. This thing is a monster. Like, I understand. I mean that both literally and figuratively. So 16 wounds. This thing's rolling in with Nagash wounds.
Yeah.
It's perfectly fast. Its move is 12 inches when it's undamaged, which is amazing. Because it's got 16 wounds, it's only ticking on, like, takes a high number of wounds to even move this thing around. It's got 2 great ranged attacks in the Harvester Cannon and the Phlegm Bombardment.
Phlegm Bombardment.
Yeah. And it can do both of those, by the way. That's not a choice. Like, that Soul Grinders just have that. It's armed with a fearsome Harvester Cannon, piston-driven legs, and a Hell-Forged Claw, and can spit horrific Phlegm Bombardment. So it has both of those ranged attacks all the time. The choice you make is between the Warp Metal Blade versus the Daemon Bone Talon, right? So there you go. Those ranged attacks are decent. The Harvester Cannon, you get a D6 when the thing's undamaged. It's for quite a while, actually. All good, solid rend, nice damage. The Phlegm Bombardment, 1 attack, -2 rend, 3 damage, solid. This thing just has a large number of attacks. The legs come in, -1 rend, do that damage. That Hellforged Claw, that's 1 snap at a cannonball, so that's not bad at all. I particularly am a fan of the Demon Bone Talon, just because I like double the number of attacks with a better odd to hit. It's the only 3 up he's got. And I'll take the slight hit and rend and to go to the D3 damage for double the number of attacks and hitting 16% more of the time.
Yeah. So you had mentioned before about a synergy where this thing could attack twice.
Oh, yes. So if you like taking the Keeper and putting her ability on this thing, just turns this thing into a freaking monster.
And it's any model.
Correct. I also like that if this thing doesn't happen to be quite near the enemy to where it can charge, this thing can shoot and run, by the way, which is cool. So that's rather nice. That means it's, can slide around 15 inches and still get its shots off. And then it has this secondary ability, which is Caught by the Claw, which mechanically I think is fun. So each time a Hellforged Claw attack hits, which remember it only has 1. So if it hits with this thing against a hero or monster, you and your opponent both secretly use a die to select a number and hide it underneath your hand. Reveal the die on a count of 3. If they are the same, the model grabbed by the claw suffers 6 mortal wounds instead of the normal damage. Fantastic. That is so much fun. And when I actually did catch a hero with this guy when I played him in my last game. And I was like, we will play this exactly as is stated. And I said, on the count of 3. We had to count to 3 after we had secretly set our die. It's just fun. It's a perfectly reasonable randomization of an ability. It's just executed in a really fun, interactive way. Statistically, it doesn't have a high chance to happen. But hey, that's okay.
This is beastly in all directions. I don't really like those, like hide a die, pick the die. There's one that in the Nagash's profile where you can do that as well, and a unit is outright slain if you pick the wrong one. I imagine a lot of people wouldn't probably appreciate that. But even if you take that away, this thing is ugly in every facet. Look at all those attacks. I did want to ask you though. I looked at the Keeper Secrets, the ability that you were pointing to. Soul Grinder seems to be a generic chaos and demon monster. It doesn't look like there's anything specific that points it in the direction of any one of the chaos gods, though.
That is correct, generally. However, it also has the demon engine of the dark gods ability.
There you go. Good. That's what I was looking for. It doesn't have any ability, though. You declare which one it falls into in terms of the faction, but it doesn't have any enhanced abilities that correspond to that.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, I think there are Warriors of Chaos units that do this. The Furies, if you review them with the next person you demons with, are like that.
Right.
You're just setting their type to give them the keyword for other synergies.
So when you take a Soul Grinder, you want to make sure that it's synergistic with the theme of the army. Obviously, you're probably going to do that anyway, but you're not just taking a Soul Grinder. There are other mechanics that are going to come into play. So let me just, we already talked about the Slaanesh bonus with the Keeper. What kind of bonuses are we talking about if you take a Khorne Soul Grinder?
I mean, it would benefit from all of the command abilities we mentioned with the Bloodthirsters. So, like the reroll of the charges and stuff like that. All of those are decent, but none of the Bloodthirsters have any kind of ability that, to me, is as backbreaking as that Keeper's ability.
Yeah, that's just nuts. When you look at this profile and you think of having basically 2 for the price of 1, that's the reason to take the Keeper with this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Slaanesh does well with the soul grinding.
Yeah. As it should. All right. Let's take a look at some of these formations really quickly. Do you have a favorite? Because I think there's one for each god, right?
There's one for each god, yeah.
Okay, so let's go over them. Demon Cohort of Khorne. I'll leave you to the Slaanesh one. So you have to take a whole lot of stuff. Like a lot of these. It's basically, one big army, but you're taking, one of the Bloodthirsters, a Blood Throne, Herald of some type, 3 units of Bloodletters, and either a Fleshhound, a unit of Fleshhounds, Skull Cannon, or Blood Crusher of Khorne unit. So what do you get? You can add 1 to any wound roll made in the combat phase if the unit charged. That's great. I like that. The whole idea of the Khorne army is to get into combat, so of course it's going to try to charge. And then the skulls for the Skull Throne. You roll dice at the end of the combat phase for each unit in the battalion that wiped out an enemy unit on that phase. On a 6, that unit can immediately pile in and attack again. Okay, I have two minds of this. First of all, anything that can allow you to pile in and attack again, that's pretty good. But there's a lot of things that need to happen for that to happen in this battalion. All right, you have to first wipe out a unit. It could be a character. It could be a hero. That won't be as hard as wiping out a large unit, but it could happen. And then you have to roll a 6. So it's not going to happen very often. So the way I look at it is, unless you're taking a very thematic army that already is going to accommodate the minimums that they're asking you, you're really only looking to get that +1 to wound on a charge. So it's not that great, this particular formation of what you get for completing the battalion.
I will actually humbly disagree. And
I love it. You've disagreed with me a lot in this episode.
It's all right. It's okay.
I like that. No, I like that. That's we seem to agree on a lot of cases, but this has been one that we've had a lot of disparity. Tell me why.
Ball-bustingly powerful, that first ability. Why? I'll tell you why. All right. What does this do? On the charge, you add 1 to wound rolls. Okay. What does every model in the Khorne army have? It says if you roll a 6 to wound, it becomes a mortal wound. Okay?
6 or more.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Now, it all says 5. The die just needs to be a 5. Okay? Which means you're passing out mortal wounds like it's Halloween and it's just candy is raining, man.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. So suddenly armor means nothing to your army, right? I mean, you are just slicing them up. Because again, just like I said with the Daemonettes, the difference between needing to roll a 6 and needing to roll a 5 is the difference between an ability that's okay and an ability that will leave your enemy a ruinous crater. The odds shift so much. Not to go all Hunger Games, but the odds will ever be in your favor. Okay. In addition, let's go back to that first Bloodthirster I mentioned that I liked, Mister I drop bombs when I roll 6s to wound. Well, you're gonna drop a lot more bombs when you only need 5s, which means a ton more free mortal wounds getting passed out all around.
Yeah, I made my my declaration without thinking of the basic mechanic of the Khorne army. You're absolutely right. In most cases, you are right. All right, so clearly, okay. So I stand corrected, audience. This is the if you're taking a Khorne army, take this formation.
Take that second ability, write it on a piece of paper, put that piece of paper in a car, drive that car into a lake, and forget about it because
it's
whatever.
not going to happen very often.
Yeah, it's extremely rare. When it does, hey, sweet, it could be a game winner. But it doesn't matter. That first ability alone carries the weight.
Okay, let's stick with this car theme. You're going to be in the car driving home, walking into your door after you've played a game and realize this came up and you forgot about it.
Yep, it's a great example. You're absolutely right.
All right, let's go to Slaanesh. Demon cohort of Slaanesh.
Sounds good. I find this one depressing, honestly.
I'm shocked.
So it's okay. You have to have the standard garbage you would expect in the thing. Like, that is to say, a big greater demon and a herald and, you know, whatever. So the first ability is Song of Despair, okay? And whenever an enemy unit fails a battle shock test within 3 inches of any units from the demon of cohort of Slaanesh, blah, 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 demon cohort of Slaanesh, roll a die for each of those units. On a 6, one model in that demon unit heals D3 wounds. If it's Daemonettes, add D6 models to the unit instead. Okay. Like, neat. First of all, it's so easy for things not to even take battle shock tests in this game. Then it's easy for them to not fail them. But I guess in the 1 in 12 combats where they fail, I get a chance to roll a die, and if I get a 6, I get 3 Daemonettes. So, yay.
So that's gonna be in the car with the other one.
Yeah, that is one of the most mathematically disappointing abilities they have ever printed. I feel like nobody didn't even pass like the basic smell test on odds. It's ridiculous. And then the other one is the other ability is fine. It's good. Which is just, hey, everybody's faster, y'all get 1 to your move. Okay, cool.
On an already fast army.
For an already fast army, you're now like lightning zippy quick. I mean, at that point, they might as well just say every model in this unit teleports wherever they want on the board every round. It's fine. Just pick up your unit, put them anywhere else you want every round. It's fine.
All right. One thing, the substitute Warscrolls, we always seem to miss this. Are there any of these? There's only a couple here that apply, but are there any of these that people may have used quite substantially and were very effective that are now just kind of folded in, or use this other profile, this other Warscroll instead, that you're kind of disappointed about? Because I've heard people disappointed about the fact that they've had a very unique model that had a particular role, and a lot of these substitute Warscrolls seem to be one of those quick decisions that kind of just said, "Yeah, we don't have to create another one. Let's just make it this."
Sure, I remember Ant talking about the Bretonnian Lord on Hippogriff. That's one of my biggest disappointments, that I have to use Leon Coeur. But, you know, in this regard, no, I don't think you're like, whatever. It's all fine. I don't really think anything big is missing. R.I.P. Scarbrand, I guess. He was cool. Because he had my favorite special rule of all time. Or one of. Until I think of the next one that I love more, but one of my favorite special rules. Scarbrand was the named Bloodthirster. Okay. And his ability was called like Unrelenting Hatred or something. I don't remember the exact name, but that's the point of it. Was as long as Scarbrand was alive, all models on the battlefield gain hatred. Period. Yours and the enemies. Like, he just gave battle-wide hatred, which I thought was so fantastic. Like, this guy is so angry and so filled with fury that he infests even the most pure minds of, like, elves or lizardmen or other dumb good people with just they just start frothing at the mouth and just charge for their enemies and want to murder them. That's wonderful.
Well, okay. So that's not a huge loss, but I do like the character, the idea of it. But again, I'm a little bit disappointed that they didn't just make the extra Warscrolls, to be honest. But I guess in some cases there are some redundancies. But they could have put in a Warscroll that used the Wrath of Khorne Bloodthirster, or just put in one special ability to do that. We've seen that in a couple of other cases, so I'm kind of surprised they didn't do that. Maybe they just knew there were so many Khorne things that are coming, they didn't need to do an extra one because there's so much other cool stuff coming down.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many Bloodthirsters. It's fine. I don't like. He had a goofy rule. It's funny, whatever. But it doesn't really matter. The new Bloodthirsters are way better than he ever was. So there you go.
All right. Well, I'm going to go and unshare here. Looks like we've come to the end of another episode. I do want to mention that I've got a couple more of these coming up. So tomorrow we're going to do the Chaos Dwarves. I know you don't believe it's a real army.
It's not. It is a fake army. No, that's fine.
Well, they're real Warscrolls, and I've got Tom that's going to be doing that with me. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be doing Wood Elves with Kieran Dunleavy. And then I'm hoping to do the Vampire Count special characters on Friday night with John Talaby. So going to confirm that one also with John. I know he's like 18 hours different from my my time zone, but trying to bang out these, and then we'll see what we can schedule for next week. We might circle back on some of these, but some of the ones that are still coming up that I'm still waiting to schedule: Lizardmen, the remainder of Chaos, which I'm sure we'll get to. Let's see, Empire. I know a lot of people have been asking about Empire, so I want to get somebody who really plays Empire very well. But if not, we'll see who's available and who's interested and who's played the army. But I'd love to get somebody who's dedicated as an Empire player to go and do that. And I might come back and do Ogres. The only reason why I know the couple of people have asked me about Ogres, especially because my son's Ogre army I've been playing with, and he's played it. And I don't know if you've seen it, Vince, but he wrecked me with it. He steamrolled through a monster Vampire Counts army and just wrecked it with that avalanche. So if you haven't seen that, hopefully you'll get a chance to see just how humbling it can be, even when you go up against a little kid.
I did, and that's fantastic. I loved it. Yes, it was great. I would recommend to anybody who is watching your channel who for some reason hasn't watched that to watch that immediately, because it's good. It's very good.
It was good. My wife was in the other room, and she had to come over a couple of times, shaking her head at the squeals and laughter that my son was experiencing while he just saw me removing models from the table amazingly. Okay. In any case, so thanks once again, Vince, for coming on and doing this. You always have some great commentary and really good insights, and it's always a lot of fun. I appreciate that.
Hey, I'm always glad to, man. Anytime.
And for everybody out there, tune in for the rest. There's a whole bunch more coming, and please feel free to comment. Put in whatever, if you have any requests or any comments about this episode or any other. I look forward to having you tune in for future ones. Have a great day, everybody.